We're just going to ask a few quick-fire questions. Man United or Chelsea?
Man United.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Custard or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Cats or dogs?
Don't like either.
Strictly Come Dancing or Dancing on Ice?
Even worse choice. Don't ask me.
Gandhi or Mandela?
Mandela.
David or Moses?
Interesting one. Probably David.
If you could be mentored by one person, any person in the whole of history, who would it be?
Well, of course, the obvious answer to that you're going to expect me to say is Jesus Christ, who perhaps more than any other figure in the history of the world has left his imprint. There's no other figure like Jesus in the history of the world. And wouldn't it be fascinating to have been one of those disciples? Though I think it would have been uncomfortable. You know, often we think about Jesus and we've got these pictures of gentle Jesus, meek and mild and so on. Actually, it was quite tough being led by Jesus. You think of the times when Peter was doing his best to say the right thing and he got it totally wrong. So I think it'd be quite a challenge.
Bishop Allen, you're a bishop. So what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis in your job?
Being a bishop is the most fantastic calling, and it's very difficult to sum it up because you do so many different things. Fundamentally, I'm the chief pastor of the diocese, and this diocese we've got over 400 churches, over 130 schools, and lots of clergy, around 600, lots of youth workers, readers and so on. So my task is with a team of leaders to try and pastor that and to lead it and to guide it.
So can you tell us a bit more about how leadership developed in your life and the journey you went on to becoming a bishop?
Well, of course, I never thought I was going to be a bishop because you can't apply for the jobs. You can't go down the job centre and see a little advert up saying bishop wanted. I felt God was calling me to be ordained in the Church of England when I was in my teenage years, and went to university and studied and went to theological college and got ordained. And I presumed I was going to spend my whole life working in a parish or something like that. So that's caught me by surprise, really, about how that's happened. And as God's called, I've tried to respond, and I'm glad to be here. And as always, when God calls you, if you go, you discover what he's doing, and it's exciting and so on. So it's been a strange progression, and one that I wasn't necessarily expecting.
As a teenager, what things do you wish you had done more of to prepare you for this position?
I think very often today when we're thinking about leadership, we sort of think it's about what I do, and it's about the techniques, about, I stand up and I give people direction, I'm clear on this and so on. I think that's a real confusion. In Christian ministry, leadership comes not from what I say, but from who I am. And Christian ministry is the overflow of my encounter with God. And therefore, part of the process, I think, of growing in leadership is always attending to how I'm deepening my relationship with God and through prayer. And looking back to my earlier life, if there was one thing I wish I'd done more of, it was concentrating on just getting into the routine and the pattern and the practice and the habit and that dreaded word, the discipline, but it's a really good Christian word, the discipline of daily meeting with God, reading the scriptures and praying.
So can you tell us a bit more about how you cultivate your relationship with God in the daily walk of busy life?
Well, alarm clock. I'm very fortunate. I've got a chapel here in where I live, and I aim to get there first thing in the morning, and that's the most important thing I do. I have a whole period of just silent prayer and contemplation and meditation. I have prayer lists where I pray for people and projects, and I spend time trying to listen to God. So that's the daily routine. Then, of course, there's the routine on Sundays, allocating the day of rest and the day for worship to God. And then each year also I have times when I go on retreat. And I increasingly like going on silent retreat.
Leading in the Church of England cannot be an easy job. You have to lead effectively in an organisation that has a diverse range of opinions. So how do you cope when people don't like where you are leading them?
Well, I think it depends why people don't like where you're leading. And one of the first tasks of leadership is of course, to listen. And I think some people have got an idea of leadership, which is you've got to be dynamic out the front, telling people. There's a time when a leader, in a time of crisis, does have to say, this is the way we're going. But most of the time we can start by listening to why people are saying what they're saying. When somebody disagrees with me, my first question is, well, how do you see it? Why do you see it differently? And later on you might say, well, I know you don't really want to sign up to this, but is it sufficiently okay for you to go with it? And often people will say, when they've been listened to, actually, yes, I wouldn't choose to go that particular way, but I can see for the greater good I'll go with it. So I think a lot of it is about style as well as substance.
If there was one thing you could let every young leader know about leadership, what would it be and why?
That leadership arises from who we are, not primarily from what we do. And that's why, as Christian leaders, developing our Christian life is the core thing. If we've encountered the beauty and the truth and the holiness and the goodness of God through our time of quiet and prayer each day, as we go out, that will mean that we're going out bearing Christ in our hearts. A Christian leadership isn't primarily about me, it's about Christ. And we just really need to get that clear. And in all the contemporary talk about leadership, if we get that wrong, we're really going to be in a bad place.
Why do you think that the work that Onelife does is so important?
Well, I think it's hugely important. I was thrilled to come along to a conference and simply meet many of the young people. And here people were talking about how God still today calls men and women and young people, firstly to follow him, but then to be leaders in his church and to be leaders in communities and in society. And today we need a whole new generation of leaders who are going to be willing to get stuck into the world in all its complexity. And it's a very complex, fast-moving, engaging, exciting world. There's a great task to do. And I think it's wonderful the way that Onelife is helping a whole generation of people think about that. So I'm excited about the work and hope it will really be able to grow and do even more.
Bishop Allen, thank you very much.